9 a.m. Saturday, May 27th. I think our mission today is going to be Santa Barbara Island. We may throw an audible here. We'll see how we're liking it when we get out there. I think it's going to be a lot of motoring this morning. I did post a separate video on simple route planning. Doesn't go into a lot of detail. It's maybe 3.5 minutes long. Just covers some of the tools that I use, that I look at when I'm trying to plan routes or weather routing. So it doesn't go into a ton of detail, but at least you can kind of get a taste for some of the tools if you're not familiar with them. So I'll put a card up here. You can click on that if you want. I'll also have a link in the description of the video. So this is going to be a super busy weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. I like to joke about it being one of the 3 amateur sailing weekends. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day. If folks don't use their boat all year long, or if they buy a boat and they haven't used it yet, it's going to get out one of those 3 weekends. So I expect the Marine Radio VHF's going to have all kinds of chatter with people having issues. It's also Fleet Week, which is pretty cool. So looks like we have we've got a Navy ship docked right out here. One thing I wanted to remind everyone, we're going to do Keeldraggerpalooza, which is our quasi-annual sailors meetup, July 22nd and 23rd at White Cove on Catalina Island. So you'll need a boat or a friend with a boat to get there. There's mooring options, there's anchoring options. I think so far I've talked to some friends and folks that I know. I think we've got 8 boats so far, so hoping to get at least 10. So I'm going to post a link to that in the description as well with a little RSVP. This isn't any kind of a formal event, it's a meetup, so everybody's on their own. It's really more of a social gathering. But if you make it out there, love to see you. If you don't make it out there, and you see me on AIS, say hi on VHF, or you see me at the island, say hi. Maybe we'll share a drink or something. But it's always cool to meet people in the local sailing community. So I hope we can do a lot more of that in the near future. Look at that monster. That is the Ashland. So we have a couple of other ships there. This gate. Visibility's better than it's been, so it's still a little hazy, but we can see the island over there, including the west side. We're gonna go pretty hard to starboard. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're not gonna make a beeline for Santa Barbara. We're gonna head up along the coast a little bit more. So the route will take us up there. So we'll head a little bit kind of northwest. And then we'll bear off, and as we bear off, that's when I think the sailing will begin. Right now, it appears like the little breeze that we have is going to be right on our nose. Actually seeing like 13 and a half, 14 knots of apparent wind, so we're motoring straight into it at about 6 knots. I went ahead and raised up the main. So we're kind of coming up off of Point Furman, Point Vicente here. A little bit different route, so we're gonna hug the coast a little bit, and then we'll hitch to port and hopefully get some better sailing in at that point. So this will be on the nose for a little bit, but we don't want to tack now because we won't clear the island over there. This is what Predict Wind suggested, so we're giving that a shot as well. Now, I know this is a super short route. Could I just eyeball it? Could I motor sail straight there and then sail if I got good wind? Could I look at windy or other free sources? Of course. But it's cool to try and experiment a little bit with some of these tools to see what works and what doesn't work, especially in the area that you want to sail in. So I'm a bit of a data nerd too, so this is cool. Hopefully we'll have some decent sailing coming up. But for right now, we're just gonna motor sail right along the coast. It's 10:15. We've got about 21 miles to our waypoint before we start to head port. Now, we've got like these, they're not big waves, but they're a real short period. Maybe 2 or 3 feet. Of course, it's not as bad when I start filming, but boat's got this kind of uncomfortable little hobby horsing. No big deal. We're still doing about 5.6 knots roughly, which is what I usually plan. Coast Guard helicopter. Little fin in the water. That's a mola mola. Maybe 2 of them. You got some ships coming in the shipping lanes. Gonna try and do a port-to-port thing so you can see us. I'll zoom in here. You got one ship right here, and then another ship up there. And I've got a pretty good viz on this one up ahead. So we're gonna stay on the east side and the inside of the shipping lanes. The outside are the southbound. So we'll let these guys. So I think what we're gonna do, you can see up here we've got maybe a little bit of wind noise now. So we've got 2 ships up here in the shipping lanes. And then about 19 miles out, we have another ship coming down. And that one, you know, if I'm headed towards him and he's headed towards me, about an hour and 10 minutes is when we would be at our closest point of arrival, our closest point of approach. What we're gonna do is we're gonna eyeball this second ship out here. So we're gonna, in a few minutes, we're gonna start heading for the stern of that second ship, and then we're gonna go ahead and just cross the shipping lanes now. So it takes me a little bit off my ley line, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and get out of the shipping lane. Boat traffic on this busy weekend. Here's a sailboat in front of us. This is the Betty Jean. And it looks like we've got another sailboat, maybe a catamaran over there, over to starboard. So I think Betty Jean's gonna cross right in front of us. If not, we'll let them cross right in front of us. We're technically a power boat while we're running the engine. Here's the Hyundai Courage, 340 meters, so it's a little over 1,000 feet long. There's the first cargo ship we were avoiding. You can see out in the distance there off the west end of Catalina, there's a ship just, looks like, I don't know if they're coming in or if they're hanging out. They're well outside the shipping lanes. So I went over maybe 40, 50 degrees over to port, just to get us perpendicular to the shipping lanes so we can cross them and then get in front of this other cargo ship, which is maybe about 15 miles away or so. It's about 12:30 and we're on the outside now of the shipping lanes. So we're past the southbound lanes in open sea, so to speak. And here's that third southbound cargo ship. So 20 till 1 and it's 24 miles. There's a good view of Catalina Island in the west end. 24 miles of Santa Barbara Island. May not be able to make it out, but way in the distance I can see the little saddle back there. All right, it's about 10 till 2, or maybe we're 3 miles from our turn, but we're gonna go ahead and turn now. I'm getting tired of bash. I want to do some sailing. This boat behind us is kind of up on our stern, and then he just went to port a little bit. I was waiting for him to clear out before we made our turn. So we're gonna go ahead and turn to port. their irons a little more forward. These guys are cut in front of us. Not sure what they're doing, but we're sailing. Look at that. Slowly, maybe. We'll check our speed. Almost 2 o'clock. Well, the good news is we're sailing. Bad news is we're about 25 degrees off. Bad news is we're about 25 degrees off. So there's the island right there, to starboard. We're pointed over to port a bit here. And our speed's a little slow, so we don't have a ton of wind. So I'm seeing like 10 apparent right now. It seems like we're getting knocked a little bit as well. I'm gonna go ahead and sail for a little bit and see what kind of speed we're getting. If it looks like we're gonna need to start motor sailing again, we'll fire the engine back up. I was expecting maybe a little closer to 15 this afternoon. Still have a couple of hours, but one thing, the wind is kind of shifted a little bit more and it's knocking us. You can hear the head sail fluttering a little bit. We're strapped in pretty tight, so there isn't much we can do. Well, the sailing was nice while it lasted. I was expecting 10 to 15, closer to 15 knots, and I've been seeing like 8. So a couple issues with that. One is we're going a little slower, so we were doing, you know, about 4 knots or a hair under. The other issue is we were going, you know, I had to drop down maybe 40 degrees off our target. And just between the speed and not being able to steer towards the island meant that we'd be getting there pretty late. I want to get set up and drop the hook while there's plenty of light, so if there's any you know, kelp to watch out for or anything like that, I'd like to see it before it gets dark out. So that's what we're gonna do. So now we're gonna get in probably a little bit before 5:30, and we'll stick with that. So one lesson learned from this little adventure is I'm not going to try this again with the single tack, I don't think. Just too much risk. If it doesn't pan out, you go way out of your way. Just kind of what we did on this. And I was okay with putting in a few extra miles for this adventure, but next time I'm not sure I'll do that. Could have done a little bit of sailing as soon as we got out of Angel's Gate. It would have put us on the front side of Catalina, then we would have had to have worked our way around. May have had a little bit better sailing, as well as a little bit of motoring, and the net would have been, we would have gotten there at the same time. Well, after 3:30, clearly see Santa Barbara Island in front of us. You also see we have a few waves here. 10 after 4. This is the wind I was expecting. It's about 11 knots, 15 or so apparent. Got a whale sighting over here. Yeah, this damn sail to Santa Barbara Island turned out to be a bash. Deck's all wet. Of course, it settles wet up there. And we're going to have to see what this is like, how bumpy this is going to be at the anchorage. So, wind's not too bad. We're up to about 13 knots now, which was about what I expected. It's just not a super protected island here. I don't know if anyone else is anchored yet. I'm not in quite close enough. We're about 4¼ miles out. And we want to get in reasonably close, but not too close. See if we can get a little protection from this, because I think we'll probably be doing this most of the night. Get a look behind us at Catalina. Maybe about 20 miles from here. If you look on the very left of Santa Barbara Island, there's a blowhole there. Shoots spray about 20 feet up in the air. There it goes. Goodness, I was just about to say I'm pretty happy with my spot here. And my hat got blown into the water, but luckily I was able to recover with the boat hook. I'll rinse that off with some fresh water. But 54 feet of water. We're getting 8 to 10 knots of wind at the top of the mast. I don't feel as much here. We've got about 300 feet out. So we drifted back a little bit. Set pretty hard. You see the structure in front of us. Used to be like a boat dock there, or some kind of a platform. It got destroyed with some Santa Anas years ago. Got an older video, but did land on the rocks there and climb up, and there's a little trail you can climb up there. And you can see one of the hills, one of the peaks. There's two of them, so at a distance there's a saddleback. Can't really see in here, but this is like a big cave. And well, I think there's another one there. But I think this one over to starboard you can see light through. And then on this side is the blowhole that I pointed out earlier. It's time for another episode of Cooking with Keeldragger. All right, so today we're gonna actually cook a marinated chicken breast from Stater Brothers on the grill. So we're gonna throw this breast on there, and then we're gonna make a little bit of rice to go with it. And it looks like we have a neighbor coming in. Thought we were the only ones dumb enough to come out here today, but fishing boats usually come in the evening if they're gonna come in. All right, here's our marinated chicken breast. This is gonna be a two-hand operation. All right, chicken breast is on. All right, this is one of those packs of pre-cooked rice. I think I threw the package in. It's not Uncle Ben's Spanish style, but it's something good. All right, here it is. Marinated chicken with rice, some kind of seasoned rice and corn. I was gonna put some maybe some peppers and some other stuff and dress this up a little bit, but I don't need anything too spicy tonight. We'll kick it up a notch tomorrow night.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
Grolsch. Let's see if we can pop this lid off one-handed here. I'm gonna say no. Problem is, I'm just a little tired. The answer is yes. Cheers, everybody.
Good morning. It's 5 o'clock. Super rolly here last night. Did not sleep well at all. So we're gonna make our coffee. I got all the red lights on just to make it a little easier on my eyes. Let me retain a little bit of night vision. We're gonna go ahead and make some coffee here. Yeah, not much sleep here last night. Really bumpy, rolly. I thought it would be a little bit better. I guess it, really wasn't terrible so much, but the motion is just constant here. And still a few things that make noises that I need to batten down a little better on the rigging. But other than that, I didn't have to worry about us moving or anything like that. I set the anchor. I set really hard, and it's pretty good holding here. So it's not so much of a concern of not holding as it is not getting sleep. We're gonna head to Cat Harbor here in a little bit. I may wait till it lightens up a little bit. First light, maybe we'll head out. It's 5:33 a.m. Listen to the radio right now. I'm scanning all my usual channels, and there's like zero chatter on VHF. 5:33. Now you watch. When I get to Cat Harbor today, by the time I get there, this VHF is going to be going off nonstop. Last night, it was one rescue or one disabled boat after another on VHF. So I heard Vessel Assist, Sea Tow, the Coast Guard, nonstop up on backside of Santa Cruz Island, both the front and back of Catalina Island, as well as near shore. One person was injured off Catalina. They said they were going to need stitches, so they were calling for medical advice, or they were calling into Catalina to let them know they were bringing someone into Avalon that was going to need stitches. All kinds of stuff going on last night. Hopefully nothing major, but I would expect Memorial Day. We'll see if Sunday is going to be busy. Monday may be the big day when everybody's leaving the island and stuff like that. But there'll be a lot of boaters messing around and who don't use their boats regularly that are, likely going to be calling. And, what's really sad and concerning is that, at least half the people that get on their radios don't know how to call for help. Don't know how to properly use a VHF radio. And, it's a pretty basic thing, but people, when their engine quits and they're not near any obstructions or anything like that, when they're calling Mayday on their radios, or inadvertently hitting distress buttons, which, is you have to flip up a lid to push the distress button. So it's these things aren't like, oh, I just accidentally hit the distress button. So they get a lot of false alarms and stuff like that as well. So hats off to the Coast Guard for having to deal with a lot of the nonsense and, making sure that everybody's safe out here. All right, cooking with Keeldragger. We're just going to make a simple breakfast burrito. So I've got my tortilla, some Jimmy Dean fully cooked sausage links. It's easier with the fully cooked. It just makes less of a mess in the boat. Got a little bit of cheese and some huevos. So the sausage is on. We'll do the eggs next. And all right, almost finished. Let's put a little hot sauce on here. Not too much. Herdes salsa de quiera. Sunday morning, 10 after 6 a.m. Got about 7 knots of wind here at the anchorage. We wound up with 2 other boats. Mostly had the place to ourselves. These fishing boats, I don't know if these guys just like to fish out there or what, but with all the rolling and bumping I had last night here at the anchorage, it was
not a good night's sleep. These guys probably had a little bit better time than I did. A little bit further down. I think we're out of the kelp zone, but we'll find out as we haul up the anchor. So we're like 53 feet or so, which is not too bad relative to the deep ass places I usually anchor. Held really well, never a concern, but wow, man, I need to tighten some rigging down. We're doing a lot of rattling last night. Sounds like she's up. There she is. Hopefully we can get all the chain into the thing here. Yoo, look at that. We did it. Perfect. We picked up a little critter here. Let's see if we can do something with that.